Good evening, one and all. In today's session, we are going to revise the basics of structures which we have already seen last time, and then we will go for the array of structures concept. So, before that, one thing that I want to clarify is this small concept that we were seeing about the size and length of a string. Okay, last time when I was explaining that if we give backslash n or backslash t, then what will be its effect on the length and size? Okay, so there was some error that time, which was not, means it was not giving the correct desired output. So see here, if the string is ABC, since I've initialized, it is not compulsory to specify the size here. Then I'm printing the string, I'm finding the length by strlen, and I'm printing the size. So we know that length of the string is the number of characters which you can see here, which will get displayed. But size is the total number of characters which are getting stored in the string. That is A, B, C, and the last character is the null character, that is nothing but backslash 0, which is automatically or implicitly inserted by the compiler at the end of the string so that it can identify that the string is terminating at this particular point. Okay, we know this. So this you don't have to write, the compiler will insert it for you on its own. So now we'll print the length and size of this. So length will be 3, but size is 1 greater, that is 3 plus 1, 4, to accommodate the null character. So length is 3 and size is 4, as you can see here. Now, if I write one backslash n, okay, anywhere in the middle or in the beginning or at the end, anywhere I can write. So length and size, what will be the change? Let us see. So length will increase by 1 and size will also increase by 1 because backslash n is a character. Okay, it is a single character, and since you are increasing a character, its length and size both will increase for the string. And the use of this character is so that the cursor goes on the next line. Now similarly, if I give another backslash n, again plus 1 in both, that is length also increases by 1 and size also by 1. Same is the case for backslash t. So we can conclude that the length of any string, okay, it is equal to size minus 1. Okay, or size is length plus 1, anything you can say. Length is always 1 lesser than the actual size. Okay, this is, you have to remember it. So now I hope this is clear. Now we can get to our structures concept. So I'll quickly just give one revision of this. We know that structure is a user-defined data type in which you can store the variables or the data which is of different data type, such as integer variable, a string over here, or even a floating point variable. And how do we initialize it? Either by this array type initializing, that is within your curly bracket, in the order in which you have written the variables in your structure. In that order, you have to write these values. So ID will be equal to 23. The string name will be ABC, and then the floating point value will be 24.5. So you have created a structure variable here, and for that variable, it has how many parts? 3 parts. First part is the ID, second part is the name, and third is the salary. Okay, so one variable has 3 parts because it is a structure variable. Similarly, you can create another structure variable. It will also have 3 parts. You can initialize. So you can say that this is the the declaration part of your structure. You have created a variable and then you are initializing that structure variable. The data type is struct employee and the variable name is E1, E2, E3. And individually you can initialize by writing structure variable name like E3 dot the name of the variable in the structure equal to the value. Okay, so dot operator or another operator is this one, arrow. So how you can give this arrow in your programming is you have to give a hyphen, or you can say minus sign, okay, minus sign, and then your right angular bracket. Okay, so this is the way you can give an arrow in your programs, or simply give dot, anything will work. And then you can print it by accessing one by one like this. Structure variable name dot the variable within the structure, that name, then again E3 dot that name and E3 dot that name. Okay, so 3 parts, so 3 things we can display. Now another thing, some points that you can note about this is See here, you can have many strings also. It is not necessary you can have different data types only. Even if the same data type is there, then also it's fine. Okay. Then if there is same data type like two integers, then you can declare them on a single line within your structure. Then you cannot initialize your variable like this within your structure. Only from outside your structure you can initialize. We can initialize either like this using this curly bracket or individually, as I've just now mentioned. Then you can print the values by using dot operator or arrow. And another new thing that you am mentioning today is, suppose you have x, y, z variables in your structure. So if you want to initialize them in a different order, means if you initialize like this, what happens? The order in which you have written the variables in your structure, in that order only you must initialize in the curly bracket. But if you don't want to use that order, then you must write dot variable name and then the value which you want to store in that. Okay, how is it? There are x, y, z variables. So dot y, that is y part of the structure. The y field or y part of the structure will be initialized to 0. Then the z variable of the structure will be initialized to 1 and x will be initialized to 2. Okay, similarly for another structure, dot x equal to 20. So only the x variable of the structure will be initialized. Y and z will not be initialized for P2. For P1, all these three in whichever order you have written here, that is y will get initialized, then z, and then x. And you can print them in whichever order using dot operator. Okay, have you understood these points which I mentioned just now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And I hope you have revised the previous videos also. If not, revise them as soon as possible because each concept is carried forward. Now we can go for array of structure. And before that, one more thing to test your previous knowledge. See here, I have initialized this E1. Okay, I have written this string. And when you initialize your string, if there is a space in between, it's okay. It will accept the space. You can print it along with this. It will not give only ABC. It will give ABC space XYZ. But the only thing when it does not accept spaces, when you accept it from the user at the runtime, when the user types at the output, whatever string is there, and if there is space in that, then that will not get stored as it is. Only before the first space, whatever is there, only ABC will get stored. But initialization time in your program without accepting from user space is allowed. Okay, now I have initialized my E1 dot name. Okay, so the name part of E1 that has got initialized. So can I update it like this? Okay, means name I can update or can I not update? What do you remember anything? I have mentioned this. This is a part of strings. Can I update my string like this as a whole? So the answer is you cannot, okay? Because once you write it like this, you cannot update your string, okay? Any string. This string is a part of the structure. Even if it was just a normal string, you cannot update. But you can update character by character, right? So only the first character, that is the string is ABC space XYZ. So only character by character or any one character. Like if you want to update the first character, the zeroth index of name, that is A, that you can change to Q if you want. Then suppose you want to change the space, that is index A is at index 0, B is at index 1, C is at index 2, space is at index 3. So I can write E1 dot name 3 is equal to, I can write any some character like W. And now if I print, it should be Q, B, C, W, X, Y, Z. See here, Q, B, C, W, X, Y, Z. So a single character you can update, or all the characters one by one you can update, but as a whole you cannot update your string. Have you understood this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is the need of array of structures that we will discuss? So suppose I open a new program file. I include the header files. Let me include another library, that is string.h, then void main, and now I want to define a structure to store the details of a student. So struct student, suppose the name of the structure is student. Now the student can have a name. Okay, I can specify 10 characters of his name because the size is 10 over here. Means 9 characters and 1 for the null character. Then he has some roll number. Let me write RNO for that. And he also has some division. So it is division maybe A or B, suppose. And division means I will write A, means it is a single character. So I've taken char as the data type of div variable. Now in my main, I'm creating a variable of type struct student. So struct student S1, okay? S1 is the variable whose type is structure type, that is struct student. Then I'm giving the message at the output that enter name of the student, or I can say enter student details. And then I can say on the next line, name, oh, I'm taking it like a C++ type. Okay, so printf, enter the student details. Next, I'll say printf name, and then next line I can accept the name using scanf. You can also use gets function here to accept multi-word string. Scanf in that %s because it is a string, and then the string variable name, that is s ampersand s1 dot name. Okay, so s1 is the name of the structure, and as I've shown here, name of the structure dot the variable of the structure. So I can accept the string. Then I will say roll number, scanf percent d or %i for roll number, and then ampersand s1 dot rno, and then finally the division s1 dot div. Okay, so first we have created the structure variable, then I'm telling enter student details, name, and then using %s I'm accepting the name part, then roll number part and division part. So let us run this much and see. I need to save it. I need to put a semicolon and save it as a C file. So see here it is running enter student details. Suppose the name of the student is ABC. Then it is asking me roll number, suppose 12, and then division A. Okay, so this much is working, means we are able to accept the values of the fields of the structure. Now if you want to print this, you can do a similar thing like, okay, I'll just copy this much and then modify it. So you can write the message student details are, then you can write name, and here you'll have to use printf to print the value percent s, okay, and the name, that is s1 dot name field or name part of the structure. Similarly, you can print the roll number part and the division part. So first I have to enter my name, then the roll number, and then the division. And you can see it has been stored. And how we know it has been stored properly? Because we are able to access it from wherever it has been stored. It has been stored in the structure as the name, roll number, and division. And using whatever has been stored, from there we are retrieving it, or we are able to access it, and we are able to display it. Okay, now can you tell me why am I getting 91 instead of A over here? Any idea?
ASCII value.
Yeah, but I should get A, no? So for that, what change I have to make in my program? Why it is happening like this? I want to display A. Why it is displaying ASCII value?
Percent D.
Percent.
Yes, very good. So I have to use percent what? It is a character, so percent C. Okay, I have removed percent D. I have written percent C. Okay, so your format specifiers must be proper, otherwise you may get error or you may get the ASCII value if you're using characters. Okay, so A, B, C, roll number and division. See, now it is again displaying something else. It is not displaying capital A. So that is another, means again I've made some mistake. Can you guess which is the why it is happening?
Percent D again.
Yeah, at the time of storing also I need to use percent C. Okay, not D, because I'm storing a character. Okay, so the way you store it and the way you access it, both must be, they must match each other. It's not allowing me to store the division. Any idea why it's not allowing me to store the division? Okay, for now I'll just change it to an integer value, that is phone number.
To store the value of division, can we use string instead of char?
Yeah, you can use, but it should work for char, right? So That's what I was wondering.
Okay.
Because we have done it before and it was working, but now I don't know why. So it happens usually in C with me, but not in C++. Let's see why it happens. So I'll use it as a phone number now, another integer value. So I'm changing it. Okay, so see now it's allowing me. So there's a problem with some character something. So phone numbers are usually 10 digit, but for our convenience, I'm writing a shorter number. Okay, and it is getting stored properly. Now, just a minute. Okay, so now we are able to read and write the data, right? So now this I have done for one structure variable, means for one student. Suppose I want to do it for another student, means I want to store the details of name, roll number, and phone number for student 2. So that time I'll have to create another structure variable s2. Similarly for student 3, I have to create another structure variable s3, and so on. And these things like enter name, enter phone number, roll number, I have to write again and again. So what you can do, since you want to store the values of different students or more than one student, you can create an array of structure. Means how in place instead of integers, when we consider to store many integers. For example, I will write int a, I'll store some value. Similarly, I'll create int b, another variable int c. Since all of these are integer data type and I wanted to create multiple such variables, I used an array. Okay, so suppose this was a0 variable, this is a1 variable, and this is a2 variable. Instead, if I store these variables in an array, I can simply access them by saying array of 0 instead of a0. For a1 variable, I can simply say array of 1 and so on. Means using the same name or the same variable, I can store different details or multiple values in the same array. Similarly, if you want to store multiple details of structure type, you have to use an array of structures. Means what? You will create structure s1. You will create struct student s1. Then you want to create struct student s2 and so on. You'll go up to sn. But instead of that, what you do, you have to write struct student and variable name should be an array type. So suppose it is stu and how many students you want to store, suppose 10. Then the size of this array will be 10. So you have created an array whose type is structure. So you can store multiple structure variables in this array. So if you want to have 5 student details, then your array size should be 5. here, since I've done this, if I want to access the details of student 1, I must access using stu of 0, right? Stu of 0, then for student 2, I can do it by writing stu of 1. For student 3, stu of 2. So I can access name, roll number, phone number for student 1, 2, and 3, and so on. Suppose I want to access the name of student 1, then stu0 dot name part. If I want to access that of student 1, then stu1 dot name part. Suppose phone number of the third student, then dot phno. Means what? For each variable, structure variable, we were doing the same thing, right? S1 dot name, S2 dot name, and so on. The only change is S is the array here, stu of 0 and the name of that student. Okay, so you can say that at each index, you are storing a independent structure. So at index 0, I have one structure. At index 1, I have another structure. At index 2, I have another structure, and so on. And at each index, since I have a structure, that structure has 3 parts. Okay, since it is a struct student type structure, that structure also has name, roll number, and phone number. So I can access these 3 parts of each index. Each index is a structure in the array. So each index has some name part, some phone number part, and some roll number part. Have you understood this, or should I repeat? Yes.
What if we write stu10?
You can't write stu10, means the array index goes from 0 to 9, right? Because if you have 10 elements in your array, index goes from 0 to n minus 1, that is 0 to 9. So you can access at most stu of 9, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Any other person has any doubt, or have you understood? Yes, have you understood?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So now we'll see the program, so it will be clearer for you. See here, now the same code of accepting and displaying I have to perform for 10 students, suppose. So the changes I can make here, like, suppose S is my array name, okay, here. S is my array name. I want to store the details of 10 students. Okay, so maximum, let me keep the size as 20. And then I will tell the user, enter number of students. And whatever the user will enter, suppose I'm storing it in a variable n. Okay, so I have to use a variable n, so I'm declaring it. So n is equal to number of students. So how many ever students, those many ever records. So I can have those many structure variables in my array. Means what? Suppose maximum size of your structure array is 20. You can have suppose 5 students. Then only the 5 places in this array will be occupied, not all 20. Right? We know that if we can have only certain values and the remaining by default will be, they'll not be initialized or they'll be 0. So here what we are doing, suppose maximum I can store 20 students, maximum. But user wants to store the details only of 5 students. For that purpose, I'm asking that how many students ka details you want to store. That is, enter number of students. So if he says 30 students, that will not be possible because array size is 20. Only 20 students details you can store using this array. So 20 or lesser than that is possible. For that purpose, I'm asking enter number of students. And how many of our students are there? That many times we have to repeat the accept and display procedure. That means for I equal to 0 up to less than n, that means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to n minus 1, I plus plus. For these many ever times, I have to accept and then I have to display. So I have used this I variable. So let me declare it. So this same thing what I've written here, I will write it inside my for loop, but some changes I have to make. This enter student details, again and again it will appear, that I don't want. Only once I should tell that enter student details. Or I can say that enter %d student details, and here I must write percent n. That means enter n student details. N will be 10. Suppose then enter 10 student details or enter the details of 10 students, whatever. Now I'll say name. Then I have to access. Now S is my array. Okay, and first I'll accept the details of student 1 that is at index 0. So S of 0. S of 0 dot name. Then I'll accept S of 1. Then S of 2, S of 3 and so on means I'm accepting S of I. So S of I dot name. So when I is equal to 0, I'm accepting the name for first student, phone number of first student and roll number of first student. Then when I becomes 1, it will be for the second student. Okay. So because of this for loop, I will keep changing from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to n minus 1. Similarly, here also. So for the each index is a structure, means at each index there is a structure that can be stored. And for that, I'm accepting the name, roll number and phone number. Similarly, after I accept all the details, I want to print the details. So I have to use another for loop for displaying. I cannot have it over here only because as soon as I enter, if I'm displaying, then I will enter 3 details, I'll display those 3 details. Again, I'll enter next 3 details, again I'll display. I don't want like that. I first want to enter all the details for the n students, and then I want to display that for the n students. So this for loop, same for loop you have to use. Okay, the change will be that you're printing over here. And you're not printing for only one structure, you're printing for the array of structures. So for the same number of students which you have stored, you're printing their name, then their roll number and phone number. Let us see. Enter number of students. Suppose 3 students. So enter 3 student details because n, that n I have printed here. So name, roll number and phone number. Okay, then it is telling name directly. But how will I know whether it is for second student, third student? Means I should know that for how many students. So the change that you can make is you can write here printf student percent %d, and here instead of percent %d I will replace by I plus 1. So enter student details, student 1. Then I'll enter the name and all. Then it will print for student 2. Okay, so this is the way you can know that how many student details you have entered or how many are yet to enter. Okay, you can have it in your display procedure also. So enter number of students, suppose 3. So enter, I must give a backslash n as well. Three students, student 1. I've entered the name, then roll number and phone number. Then student 2. Okay, so this way you know that student 1 is over. Now we are doing it for student 2. Then student 3, name, roll number and phone number. And then it is printing student details are. For student 1, it is printing name, roll number, phone number. Then for student 2, whatever we had stored, that is being printed one by one. Okay, so have you understood the use of array of structures? You can create a set of structures or a list of structure variables using the array of structure. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Other, okay. Gaurav, have you understood? I think you're not there. Okay, so this was accepting and displaying. Now, you may also want to do it using a function. So what you can do, you must write this whole thing, enter student details, this accepting procedure, you can write it inside a function. So the changes that you can make are, you have to create a function. Suppose the name of the function is create, and now you have to pass some parameters over here, and after that you can define it. So what I'll do, I'll pass the structure over here, and then I'll pass the number of students. So what I'm doing here, I'll show you the calling part first. So create. Now here I will pass s, that is the name of the array of structures, s, and I will also pass n, means I'm passing the array and then I'm passing the number of students. So what will happen, this s has to get stored in the function header here. Now s is a type of structure array. So here the parameter that will hold it should also be a structure student type, and suppose the name over here is list. Okay, so the array of structure s is a structure of array that will get stored as structure of array with the name list over here. So s is being copied to list structure, and I can have another variable m over here, or let me call it n only. And we know that this n in the function calling or in the main is same, but the n in the main and the n of the create function is different, so it doesn't make a difference here. Then I'll print enter student details, and this whole thing I must put it in this function. So what will happen, it will first print enter number of students, and then I'll pass the structure and the number of students to this create function, and then it will tell me enter student details, and then one by one everything will get stored in the structure array. Similarly, to display, I can write here display function. I have to define it. Here what I will do, I have to also return this structure, right? So that when I return it, I will be able to copy it back to this student. Now another thing is, if you don't want to create a structure variable, you don't want to pass it over here, what you can do, instead of passing over here, you create your structure inside here. It is struct student s of 10. Then enter the number of students and all, it will happen inside. And then you can return the structure here. Okay, means you will remove this part. And since you're returning, return type will change. It will change to struct student. And you can put a star, because we know that returning an array, we must put a asterisk. And then finally, return s. And when I'm returning this s, this student structure, I have to copy it there. And now while displaying, I can pass the name of the structure and this enter the number of students. So I have passed the number of students to this create function. And for those many number of students, it will accept. Now I've copied it back to S array of structure, and I'll pass this n again. And in this display procedure, I'll have to define another display function. And in this code I have to copy. So what I've done, written that enter the number of students, and I've passed that to a create function, and then the structure will be accepted, all the data, and then I'm returning the structure, and then I'm passing that structure which I've copied in S back to a display function, and it will display. Let's see. I need to also declare I over here. And also over here in my display. And the name of my structure that I've passed, I need to pass the structure. So it will be struct student. Suppose it is list. So I'll have to change this also by the name list. And another variable to hold the number of records. So now it is working. So enter the number of students, suppose 3. For student 1, I'll enter the name, the roll number, the phone number. Then for student 2, roll number and phone number. Student 3, roll number and phone number. And as you can see, it is getting displayed, but there is some garbage value. Means this S that I have written over here, it is not able to uh, accept, it is not able to store it back over here in S variable. Means there should be a way that this structure that I've created, either you create it as a global structure, okay? That means this struct student S, instead of declaring it in main, I will write it over here. So it can be accessed directly by all the functions. Then in my main, I can simply ask for number of students. Then I will create it. And in the display, since I don't have to uh, pass the structure name because it is globally accepted, this line will not be there. So I'm only passing the number of records that I want to store to each of the functions. And here I'll have to access it using the S only. So the benefit of global variables is it can, as you know, it can be accessed throughout the program. So S is a global array over here of structure type whose size is 10. And then I'm asking enter the number of students, and that n I'm passing to create function. So for those many number of students, I will accept it in S array, and same S array I'm going to display it for the same n. Let us see. I'm entering number of students 2 only this time. So this time it is getting stored properly, right? Whatever I had entered, that I'm getting at the display. So returning an array of structure sometimes may give you garbage values, because structure is what? It has many fields in it. So returning that much amount of data back may sometimes give you a problem. So have you understood how I have created and displayed? Or should I repeat? Yes, you can tell me if you want, I will repeat.
Understood.
Others?
Understood.
Okay. So we have seen that we can accept or we can create and we can display. Now, another operation that you can perform is if you want to search a particular record or record of a particular student. So here you can tell the user that if you want to search by the roll number, okay, you for this time, for the first time I'm searching by roll number. Then if you want, you can search by the name of the student. Then you can search by his phone number. So I'm telling that enter roll number of student to be searched, and whatever is entered, let me store it using %d in a variable using ampersand s. The name of the variable suppose is r over here. So the roll number of the student using which I want to search that student in the structure is r. Okay, it is like your linear search only. So let me create a function search, and I'm passing this r to that function. So this search function takes in a parameter. So I'm defining my search function. Here I'm writing int r. Here you can have it r, and here also if you have it r, it's no problem. And then I need to compare this r with each of the roll numbers of the students. So let me also pass the total number of students over here. So for the same for loop, you will have to compare for these many number of times. So since roll number is an integer, I can directly use the equal to operator. Suppose I was searching by name, then strcmp, that function I had to use. So if the name of the structure is s, if s of I, and which part I have to compare, the roll number part. Okay, so for each structure, means for each index, the roll number part I have to consider, and I have to check it with r variable. And suppose this is satisfied, only then the if condition is satisfied, and only then the if body will get executed. And if this is getting matched, if there is a match found, then you can print that student found. Firstly, you can print student found or student details exist, anything you can print. And then you can print the total details for that particular student. Means you have matched him or found him using his roll number. And for this index, you can access the name part, phone number part as well, right? So you can simply print the name and phone number part for the same index. So I'll take it from here itself. Okay, so student is found. So for that particular index, the roll number is matching. So that index ka name, roll number and phone number I can access. Since the roll number and r is same, instead of accessing it like this, you can simply print r also. But you can, this is also possible. So suppose I will execute this. I need to declare this r. Okay, so enter number of students. Suppose I have 3 students. Okay, now let me give some proper names now, so that it becomes easy for us. Roll number is 12. Let me take 10. Phone number is 1111. Student 2. Roll number is suppose 20. And this is his phone number. Student 3. Roll number 30. Phone number. So it has printed the student details as I have entered it. Okay. Now even here you can see that name, roll number, phone number, then name, roll number, phone number. So you can give twice \n so that you can easily read the data. Okay, that you can do it on your own. Now enter the roll number of student to be searched. Suppose I want to search for the student with roll number 20 that I've entered. So it is telling me student has been found with the name and roll number and phone number. See here, 20 was this one, the name of the student Arjun, and phone number 2222. That same details are getting printed. So this is just like your linear search, but you have to search the specific part of your structure. You have to compare it to that particular field, and since it is matching, only then for all the fields you can print the corresponding value. Have you got it?
Yes.
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 Okay, yeah. So this was one of the operations. See, anytime you create a database or a storage of such records of multiple members, then what all operations you can perform? First of all, you can create the database or the details can be stored. Then you can display them, what all you have stored. Then you can search a particular record or search a particular student or search a particular detail also, or you can simply find that whether he exists or not in your database. Instead of printing, you can either check whether there is an existence or not. Then what else you can do? You can sort the details as per roll number. Means if the roll number is entered in any order, means first you're entering details of roll number 30, then roll number 1, then 50. This will not be stored serially, right? So you can sort your details using bubble sort that we have seen, right? Then you can delete a particular record. Okay, means how we have deleted a particular element in an array, we have to shift the elements forward. You can insert by shifting the elements backward, or simply put a space in place of that particular detail. Means if you want to delete the details of student A, then instead of his name simply put an empty string. Okay, that is also possible. Now what we'll do, okay, so it has been, we won't be able to cover the sorting part now, but you try it at home. Okay, sorting based on roll number. We have done searching based on roll number. Now you do sorting based on roll number, and you can try it. And next session I will also execute. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Else you can put your attendance in the chat box. Any doubts? Just as we have searched by roll number, you can search by name. There you have to use string comparison function, strcmp. You can also search by phone number also. And you can have more details also. These were only three sets of details. You can also have address or student ID or many other things. Suppose he's an employee, then you can have salary, designation. You can have many other fields also. There is another thing in which you can decide the rank of the students in a class. Whoever has stood first, you can sort it according to their rank also. That also program we are going to execute. Any doubts? Prahlad Singh, any doubts?
Like if we close the output window and we have stored some value of student 1 2 3, and if we close the output window, then again if we run a program, the details of the student 1 2 3 would be deleted. No, matlab it would
Yes,
not
yes.
be there. So how
Yeah.
can we store them also, even if we
Yes.
close
So
the window?
yeah. So for this, that means you don't want to lose your data, or you want to store the data as far as possible, as long as possible, means for the duration which you want. So for these purposes, you can use file handling concept. Means what? You will run your program, and whatever input you give or whatever output you want to store, that output that you get from your program, that output or the student details can be stored in a file. And if you close your program or shut down your machine, that file is in your permanent storage of your computer, right? It will not get deleted as long as you want it to get deleted, or as long as you yourself delete it. So that all those details or the output of your program will be stored in a file. And next time when you want to access that same database or those same records, then you have to read the content from the file and copy it to your program, or take the input from the file. All this time what we were doing, we were taking input from the user itself, from this console window. But now you will take input from the file, and you have to simply perform your operation after that data has been entered in your program. Okay, have you understood?
Yes.
Yeah. Any other doubts? Anyone else can also ask. Okay, if you have finished with the attendance and no doubts, then you can leave this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
In the output window, can we form the tabular representation of data input?
Yes, you can form that. So you can, while displaying, you have to put certain lines. Means lines in the sense how you can do is, suppose you want to display the certain heading, then you have in a printf statement, these minus signs can be put as a line. Then you can display whatever. Suppose student details you want to type. Then next line you can put this, and next line you can print these vertical logical or symbols. Okay, but graphically that means if you want to store it in a table and directly if you want to display table, it is not possible. But like these lines you can put to create a table. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we use that matrix form also to
Yes,
store data?
matrix also you can store. Means one by one for student details, his name, roll number, phone number will be first row. Then for student two, second row, his details. Okay, like that also you can use. For that, you can use the two-dimensional array. I'll show you that also next time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.